This is Radio Vesuvio, broadcasting from 73 meters below street level in what used to be the Naples metro system. If you're hearing this, congratulations. Your radio still works, you've got power, and you're probably not dead yet. That puts you in the top 1% of people in southern Italy right now. My name is Marco Gentile. I was a morning DJ, played hits, told jokes, read advertisements for mattress sales. Now I'm here in a concrete tomb with 11 other people, a generator that sounds like it's coughing up its own lungs, and exactly 4 bottles of water left. The air smells like sulfur and burnt plastic. It's been 3 days since Campi Flegrei decided it had enough of our shit. For those of you just tuning in, and Christ, I hope there's someone out there. Let me paint you a picture. 72 hours ago, the caldera that's been sitting under Naples like a loaded gun for 10,000 years finally pulled the trigger. The eruption started at 11:47 in the morning. I remember because I was mid-sentence about to introduce a Madonna song when the building started shaking so hard my coffee jumped off the desk. The sky turned the color of a bruise. Then it turned black. Now we're down here. Me, 3 engineers from the radio station. A security guard named Enzo who keeps insisting he knows a way out through the sewers. 2 tourists from Germany who don't speak Italian. A woman named Sofia who was a nurse before the world ended. Her son Luca who won't stop crying. An old man everyone calls Nano who claims he survived Vesuvius in '44 and keeps saying, "I told you so." A teenager named Alessia with purple hair who's been writing poetry in the margins of old newspapers. And Father Pietro, who brought his entire communion wine supply down with us. God bless Father Pietro. A distant rumble, something falls in the background. A woman's voice says something sharp in German. That was another one. The aftershocks come every few hours. Sometimes the lights go out. Sometimes they don't come back on for a while. Sometimes we hear screaming from other parts of the tunnel system, and we don't go looking because we're not stupid. The broadcasts are sporadic. We run the generator for an hour, then shut it down to save fuel. We've got maybe 3 days of diesel left if we're careful. After that, we're just voices in the dark talking to nobody. But here's the thing about being a DJ, I can't shut up. Even now, especially now, so I'll keep talking. I'll tell you what it's like down here. I'll tell you what we hear, what we see when we dare to go topside, what we're planning to do to survive. Maybe someone's listening. Maybe someone's out there with information, with help, with a plan better than wait and hope the mountain stops screaming. Or maybe I'm just talking to myself. But that's okay too. I've had worse audiences. He laughs, but it sounds hollow. Current conditions outside. Volcanic ash approximately 60 centimeters deep on the streets we can still access. Pyroclastic flows have turned most of the city center into a crematorium. Air quality is, and I'm quoting our engineer David here, spectacularly lethal. Visibility is maybe 3 meters on a good day. Temperature topside is 43 degrees Celsius, because apparently hell isn't a place you go when you die. It's a place that comes to you. We tried to get a vehicle running yesterday. David and Enzo went up through the emergency exit at Municipio Station. They were gone for 2 hours. When they came back, David was coughing blood and Enzo wouldn't speak. They didn't bring back a vehicle. They didn't bring back hope. But they brought back 3 gallons of water they found in an abandoned cafe, so that's something. Papers shuffling. I've been keeping a log, trying to anyway. It helps to write things down. Makes it feel less like a nightmare and more like a really terrible history lesson that someone might read someday. Day 1. Eruption at 11:47. We made it to the metro in 40 minutes. Sophia says that's a miracle. I say it's because everyone else was too busy dying to block the stairwell. Day 2. Realized we're not getting rescued. The government's gone. Rome's gone silent. Every emergency frequency is either static or screaming. We heard a broadcast from someone claiming to be in Salerno yesterday morning, but it cut off mid-sentence and we haven't heard anything since. Day 3. That's today. Alessia asked me how long we could survive down here. I told her months if we're smart. Sophia looked at me like I just lied to a child at Christmas. She's right. We've got maybe 2 weeks of food if we ration. Water's the real problem. There's a broken pipe in the tunnels that's giving us a trickle, literally a trickle, of water that tastes like rust and probably has more bacteria than a hospital floor, but we're boiling it and hoping for the best. The Germans, their names are Klaus and Heidi, though I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, keep asking when the rescue teams are coming. Father Pietro tells them to pray. Alessia tells them to shut up. Enzo tells them he knows a way through the sewers to the port, that there might be boats there, that we could make it if we're brave. Nobody believes him, but nobody's contradicting him either, because what else do we have? A door slams somewhere, voices arguing in the distance. We're trying to stay civilized down here. We've got rules. No shouting after midnight. Share everything. No one goes topside alone. No one talks about the people we left behind unless they want to. Luca broke that last rule this morning. Started crying about his father who was at work when it happened. Sophia held him until he stopped. Then Alessia started reading her poetry out loud, and honestly I think that made everyone feel worse. But at least it was something different to feel. The old man, Nano, he keeps telling stories about Vesuvius. How the ash fell like snow. How people thought it would stop. How it didn't. He's got this look in his eyes like he's watching it all happen again, like he's been waiting his whole life to be right about the worst thing possible. Mountains don't forget, he says, they just wait. Thanks for that, Nano. Really inspiring. A mechanical click. The generator coughs. We're going to shut down for a while, save the fuel. When we come back on, I'll tell you about our plan. Because yes, we have a plan. Sort of. It involves the sewers and hoping the toxic gas doesn't kill us before the volcanic ash does. This is Marco Gentile, Radio Vesuvio, broadcasting from the end of the world. Good morning, survivors, and I use both those words loosely. It's day 5. We're still here. That's the good news. The bad news is everything else. Last night one of the Germans, Klaus, tried to leave. Just stood up in the middle of everyone sleeping, grabbed his backpack and headed for the surface. Enzo caught him at the stairs. There was shouting. Klaus kept saying, "Ich muss gehen, ich muss gehen. I have to go," over and over. Like if he said it enough times, it would become true instead of suicide. We brought him back. Father Pietro gave him some wine. He's sleeping now or pretending to. Can't really blame him. We're all thinking it. Every hour we stay down here, the supplies get lower. The air gets staler. The walls feel closer. Sophia checked our rations this morning. If we're careful, and I mean rice grain counting careful, we've got 8 days of food. Water's better. The pipe's still trickling. We've got a system now where we collect it in shifts, boil it, store it in any container we can find. Yesterday we found a janitor's closet with cleaning supplies and approximately 40 bottles of various liquids. We're using the empty bottles now. Small victories. A woman coughs in the background. Then another voice, younger, speaking in Italian. "Marco, David wants to talk to you after." That's Alessia, our resident poet and apparently my new production assistant. She's adapting. We all are. David, he's our chief engineer, the guy who's keeping the generator alive. He's been exploring the tunnels. There's a whole network down here that most people never saw. Maintenance shafts, storage rooms, emergency bunkers from the Cold War that are still stocked with supplies from 1975. We found one yesterday. 7 cans of beans, a box of crackers that turned to dust when we opened it, and a radiation suit that David is now wearing because his lungs are shot from the ash exposure. He looks ridiculous. We're all trying not to laugh. It's not funny, but it's also a little funny. He pauses, a deep breath. Enzo's still talking about the sewers, his big plan. Says there's an access point to the old Spanish Quarter drainage system that connects to the port. Says if we follow it, stay low, move fast, we might make it to the waterfront. Maybe find a boat. Maybe find other survivors staging an evacuation. When I asked him how he knows this, he said he used to do business down there. Enzo was a smuggler. Of course he was. The thing is, nobody has a better idea. Going up is death. The air alone will shred your lungs in minutes. The heat will cook you from the inside. And that's if you don't run into a pyroclastic flow, which David explained is basically a rolling avalanche of superheated gas and rock that moves at 700 kilometers per hour and turns everything it touches into ash. So the sewers. Our best option is literal shit tunnels filled with toxic gas. This is fine. Everything's fine. Something crashes, shouting in German. Marco's voice stays level. Klaus is awake. Look, I need to go deal with this. When we come back on, I'll tell you about Nano's theory about why this happened. Spoiler alert. It involves government seismologists, Vatican conspiracies, and aliens. Because apparently surviving a supervolcano eruption isn't weird enough. It's late. Day 7. Most people are asleep. I should be asleep. But the generator's running and I need to talk to someone, even if that someone is the void. We lost Father Pietro today. He went topside, alone. Sometime after our last broadcast, while everyone was resting, he just left. Took one of our gas masks. We only had 3 and climbed up through the emergency exit at Toledo Station. We found the note 3 hours later, written on the back of a prayer card. Forgive me, I must see what remains of Santa Chiara. If God wants me, he will take me there. The wine is yours, P. Santa Chiara, his church. Enzo wanted to go after him immediately. Sophia said no, that it was suicide, that Pietro made his choice. They argued for an hour. Enzo called her cold. She called him sentimental. Alessia told them both to shut up and Luca started crying again. In the end, David and I went. Took the remaining 2 gas masks. Told everyone we'd be back in 30 minutes. Long pause. Background noise of breathing through a respirator recorded earlier. I need to tell you what it looks like up there. The ash is deeper now. 1 meter in some places. It's still warm. You can feel the heat through your shoes. The air is thick, orange-colored like breathing in rust. The gas mask helps, but you can still taste it. Sulfur and chemicals and something else, something organic and wrong. The buildings are ghosts. Everything's covered in gray. No colors anymore. Just ash and the dim orange glow from fires still burning somewhere in the distance. We followed the street markers, when we could find them, toward Toledo. We found Pietro about 40 meters from the exit. He was on his knees facing south toward where Santa Chiara would be, still holding his rosary. The gas mask was beside him in the ash. He'd taken it off. His voice cracked slightly. I don't know if he made it to his church. The ash was too deep, visibility too poor, but he died trying. That has to count for something. We couldn't bring him back. The body was too heavy and we were already struggling to breathe even with the masks. David said a prayer over him. He's not even religious, but he said it anyway. Then we marked the spot with a piece of rebar stuck upright in the ash so we'd know where he was. When we came back, we told everyone. Heidi cried. Klaus stared at the wall. Sophia just nodded like she'd expected it. Nano said, the mountain takes who it wants. We drank Pietro's communion wine, all of it. It seemed appropriate. Sound of liquid pouring. I'm having some now. It's terrible wine. But Pietro left us 2 cases of the stuff, so we're set for bad decisions. The thing about being down here is that time stops meaning anything. 7 days feels like 7 months. 7 minutes feels like seconds. We sleep when we're tired. We eat when we remember. We talk when the silence gets too heavy. Alessia has been reading her poetry. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought. There's one about the ash that I keep thinking about. Something about how it covers everything equally, makes no distinction between the cathedral and the cafe, the rich and the poor, the guilty and the innocent. Very egalitarian, this apocalypse. Luca asked me today if his father might still be alive. Maybe in another tunnel, maybe in a shelter somewhere. I told him yes. Absolutely. Stranger things have happened. Sophia looked at me again with that expression. The one that says, you're a liar but a kind one, and that's almost worse. A breath. Tomorrow or today, technically, since it's past midnight, we're going to start preparations for the sewer route. Enzo's going to lead a scouting mission. David's coming, and so am I. We're going to map the path, see if it's even possible, see if there's anything at the port worth dying for. Because here's the truth nobody's saying out loud. We can't stay here much longer. The food will run out. The water might stop. The air is already getting stale. We've sealed the entrances as best we can, but you can still smell the sulfur seeping in. Every day it's a little stronger. We're not waiting for rescue anymore. We're planning an escape. The sound of the generator sputtering. That's our signal. Power conservation and all that. Before we go dark, I want to say something to whoever might be listening. To anyone who survived, this isn't the end. Not yet. Humans are stubborn bastards. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars and every disaster nature could throw at us. We'll survive this too. Or we won't. But at least we'll go down trying. This is Marco Gentile, Radio Vesuvio, still broadcasting from the tomb of Naples. To Father Pietro, may your God find you worthy. You were a good man in a bad situation. To everyone else, stay alive. Stay together. And if you know a better way out than through a sewer filled with toxic gas, please, for the love of God, send me a postcard. We're back. Barely. Day 9. The scouting mission happened yesterday. It went. Well, it went. Let me start from the beginning. At 14:00 hours. I'm being specific because when you're planning to walk through a sewer system during a volcanic apocalypse, you need to be precise about these things. Enzo, David, and I suited up. We took the gas masks, flashlights, rope, a first aid kit that's mostly bandages and expired painkillers, and Enzo's hand-drawn map of the drainage system that looks like it was made by a drunk cartographer. The entrance is through a maintenance hatch in the northern tunnel. We had to move aside approximately 40 years of accumulated debris just to get the hatch open. The smell that came up was indescribable. Imagine a corpse rotted in sewage and then set on fire. Now make it worse. That's where we're planning to escape through. A bitter laugh. The tunnel goes down about 6 meters before leveling out. It's narrow, barely wide enough for one person. The walls are slick with things I don't want to think about. The water, if you can call it water, is ankle deep and warm. We walked for 20 minutes before the tunnel branched. Enzo took us left. He seemed confident. The kind of confidence that comes from either knowing exactly what you're doing or having completely given up on self-preservation. We found 3 collapsed sections. 2 we could climb over. 1 we couldn't. That's when David suggested we try the eastern route instead. Said he saw it on an old metro map from the 80s. Enzo said that route was flooded. They argued. In a sewer. While standing in toxic water during a supervolcano eruption. You can't make this up. Something scrapes against metal in the background. We compromised. Went back, tried the eastern branch. It was flooded, but only waist deep. We waded through for what felt like hours. The flashlights barely cut through the murk. Every sound echoed. Once something brushed against my leg and I nearly climbed David like a tree. But here's the thing, it worked. The eastern route connects to a larger drainage junction. From there, we could see multiple tunnels branching out. One of them, according to Enzo, should lead toward the port district. Should. Not does, should. We didn't have time to check. David started coughing. The ash damage to his lungs is getting worse. We had to turn back. Took us 2 hours to retrace our steps. By the time we got back to the metro station, all 3 of us were hypothermic from the water and David was coughing blood again. Sophia patched us up, gave us antibiotics from her nursing supplies, said if we do this again, one of us will probably die from infection before we make it to the port. We're doing it again anyway, tomorrow. The decision's been made. We took a vote. Everyone except Heidi wants to try the sewers. Heidi wants to stay here, wait for rescue. Klaus says he'll stay with her. Nano's coming, says he didn't survive Vesuvius just to die in a metro tunnel. Alesha's coming. Sophia and Luca are coming, though Sophia looks like she wants to strangle all of us for putting her son at risk. And me? I'm coming because someone needs to document this for posterity, and also because dying in a sewer sounds slightly better than starving in the dark. We've spent today preparing, dividing supplies, making packs. Enzo's been going over the route again and again, making sure we know every turn. David's been waterproofing our electronics, the flashlights, the radio, a few batteries. Sophia's been rationing medicine, figuring out what we can carry, what we need to leave behind. Alessia asked if we should bring the wine. I said yes. Obviously, Nano's been quiet, just sitting in the corner looking at an old photograph. When I asked him about it, he showed me. His family, taken in 1945, right after the war, 4 generations in front of a house in Ercolano. All gone now, he said. House, people, everything. Ercolano was in the first pyroclastic flow. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just sat with him for a while. A young woman's voice in the background. Marco, we're ready for the inventory. That's Alessia. We're doing one final count of everything we're taking. Food, water, medicine, tools, rope, anything that might help us survive a 6-kilometer walk through hell's plumbing system. This is going to be our last broadcast from the metro station. If we make it to the port, if there's power there, if we find anything resembling civilization, I'll try to broadcast again. Let you know we made it. If you don't hear from us, well, it was a good run. He pauses, and when he speaks again, his voice is softer. You know what's strange? I thought I'd be more scared, but mostly I just feel tired. Tired of the ash, tired of the dark, tired of wondering if today's the day the ceiling collapses or the air finally kills us, or we just run out of reasons to keep going. But then Luca smiled at me this morning. Kid's 8 years old, hasn't seen the sun in 9 days, watched his world end, and he still smiled. Because Alessia told him a joke. A stupid joke about a priest and a penguin that doesn't even make sense. And I thought, okay, that's why we keep going for the stupid jokes, for the moments that don't make sense, for the chance that maybe somewhere there's still something worth surviving for. Time's up. We move out at dawn, or what we're calling dawn anyway. Hard to tell when you're 73 meters underground. To Klaus and Heidi, thank you for everything. Guard the wine we're leaving behind. If we don't make it back, drink it in our honor. To anyone listening, if you're alive, if you're out there, if you're trying to survive, don't give up. Even when it seems hopeless, even when the mountain's still screaming, even when the only way out is through a sewer, especially then. This is Marco Gentile, Radio Vesuvio, signing off from Naples Metro. Next time you hear from me, I'll either be at the port with a boat and a plan, or I'll be dead in a tunnel. Either way, it's been an honor talking to the void. Jesus Christ, we actually made it. This is Marco. We're at the port, or what's left of it, broadcasting from a ship called the Adriana, a cargo vessel that was docked when everything went to hell. Most of the crew abandoned it. We found one guy, engineer named Paolo. He's been here alone for 8 days, keeping the generators running, hoping someone would come. We're his someone. A wet cough, then breathing. I need to tell you what happened, all of it, while I still remember, while it's still fresh. We left the metro station yesterday at dawn. 9 of us, me, Enzo, David, Sophia, Luca, Alessia, Nano, and 2 others from the station I haven't mentioned before, a businessman named Roberto and a student named Chiara. Klaus and Heidi stayed behind. We left them all our remaining supplies from the metro. It seemed fair. The journey through the sewers took 14 hours. 14 hours of wading through water that varied from ankle deep to chest deep. 14 hours of trying not to think about what was in that water. 14 hours of following Enzo's barely coherent directions, while David coughed up pieces of his lungs, and Nano kept whispering prayers to saints I'd never heard of. The first collapse happened 2 hours in. A section of tunnel just gave way. 1 second we were walking, the next, the ceiling was falling and Roberto was screaming. We pulled him back just in time. Lost one of our packs though, the one with half our food. We kept going. Sound of wind through metal. The creak of a ship. At hour 4 we hit the flooded section. The one Enzo warned us about, it wasn't waist deep anymore. It was over our heads. We had to swim. in complete darkness, with a child. Sophia went first with Luca, tied a rope around both of them, told him to hold his breath and trust her. They disappeared into the black water. We waited, counted. At 90 seconds, I started to panic. At 2 minutes, Alessia started crying. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the rope went slack. They'd made it through. One by one, we followed. David almost didn't make it. His lungs gave out halfway through. Enzo had to drag him. When we pulled them both out on the other side, David wasn't breathing. Sophia did CPR for 3 minutes while the rest of us watched and prayed, and tried not to think about being trapped in a flooded sewer tunnel with a corpse. He coughed, vomited water, started breathing. We kept going, a long silence. Hour 8, Nano collapsed, just stopped walking and sat down in the water, said he was done. That he'd survived Vesuvius to die in a sewer, and wasn't that just the funniest thing? It took 20 minutes to convince him to move. Alessia threatened to carry him. He laughed and called her Pazza crazy, but he got up. Hour 10, we heard voices. Thought maybe we'd found other survivors. Followed the sound, found nothing. Just echoes or ghosts, take your pick. Hour 12, Chiara said she couldn't go on. Sophia gave her the last of the painkillers. We all took turns helping her walk. Hour 14, we saw light. His voice breaks slightly. Actual light, not flashlight beams. Real, beautiful, terrifying daylight filtered through volcanic ash. The tunnel exit, the port. We climbed out one by one, helped each other up through a drainage grate, emerged into the apocalypse. The port district is destroyed. Most buildings are collapsed. The ash is everywhere, meters deep in places. But the harbor is still there. The water's toxic looking, filled with debris and ash, but it's there. And there were boats, not many. Most had sunk or burned, but one, the Adriana, was still floating. Paolo, the engineer, he saw us climbing out of the sewer. Thought we were hallucinations at first. When he realized we were real, he cried, actually cried. Then he helped us aboard, the sound of footsteps on metal. The ship's in rough condition, but it's functional. Paolo's been maintaining the engines, keeping them ready, even though he had nowhere to go. Said he figured if he kept busy, he wouldn't have to think about being alone. We've spent the last day recovering. Sophia's set up a medical area in one of the cabins. David's stable, but his lungs are shot. He might not make it. Nano's asleep in what used to be the captain's quarters, snoring like nothing happened. Luca's exploring the ship with Alessia. They found a storage room with food, canned goods, rice, pasta, enough for weeks if we're careful. And Paolo says the ship can sail. Not far, the engines are damaged, but far enough to get us away from the coast, away from the ash clouds, away from Campi Flegrei, sound of someone approaching. A man's voice, "Marco, we need you on the bridge." That's Paolo. We're planning our route, trying to decide where to go. Sicily might be safe, or Sardinia, or we just sail west and hope we find somewhere that isn't covered in volcanic death, papers rustling. Before I go, I need to tell you about Enzo. He saved us, all of us. That crazy smuggler with his hand-drawn maps and his impossible confidence. He got us through those tunnels. Knew every turn, every collapse, every flooded section. When we made it to the port, when we saw the ship, he just smiled and said, "Told you so." Then he collapsed. Exhaustion, Sophia says. An infection from the water. She's treating him now with what antibiotics we have. He'll live. He has to. Heroes don't die in the epilogue. To Klaus and Heidi, if you're listening, we made it. The route is viable. If you want to follow, here are the directions. He provides detailed navigation instructions through the sewer system. Be careful at the flooded section. Take your time. We'll wait for you if we can. To anyone else out there, there's a ship at the port. The Adriana, berth 14. If you can make it, come find us. We'll wait as long as we can before we sail. This is Marco Gentile, Radio Vesuvio, broadcasting from the only boat left in Naples that isn't on fire. We made it through the sewers. We made it through the ash. We made it through the end of the world. And tomorrow we sail, the sound of the ship creaking, distant voices, someone laughing. Stay alive out there. If we can do it, so can you. This is Marco Gentile. Final broadcast. We're 8 days out from Naples. Currently somewhere between Sicily and Sardinia, following the coast, looking for signs of life. We've seen other ships. Not many, but some. Fishing boats mostly. A few military vessels in the distance. Yesterday we passed an Italian Navy destroyer. They radioed us, asked if we needed assistance. We nearly cried. The Navy's established a safe zone in Sardinia, Cagliari's harbor. They're evacuating survivors, providing aid, coordinating rescue operations. They told us to head there. Said there are thousands of people. Said there's food, water, medicine. Said there's hope. The sound of wind, waves, seabirds. We lost David 3 days ago. His lungs finally gave out. Sophia tried everything, but there's only so much you can do without proper medical equipment. We buried him at sea. Alessia read a poem. Even Nano cried. Enzo's recovering. Slowly. The infection's clearing up thanks to the antibiotics the Navy gave us when we radioed. He spends most of his time on deck, staring at the horizon, smoking cigarettes he found in the captain's cabin. Paolo's become our de facto captain. Turns out he's been sailing since he was a kid. Who knew? He's been teaching Luca how to navigate by the stars. Not that you can see many stars through the ash clouds, but the kid likes it. Sophia's pregnant. Found out 2 days ago. She threw up 3 times before breakfast, and Chiara, who apparently studied medicine for a semester before dropping out, figured it out. Sophia's terrified, also cautiously optimistic. Says she's going to name the baby Pietro if it's a boy. Alessia's still writing poetry. She's got an entire notebook now. Pages filled with words about ash and sewers and survival. She read me one last night. It was about the radio broadcasts, about talking to the void and hoping someone's listening. I told her someone was definitely listening. Had to be. She smiled and said, even if they weren't, it mattered that you talked. Smart kid. A long pause, the sound of waves. Nano died yesterday, peacefully, in his sleep. He'd been getting weaker every day, but he held on long enough to see the sun again, to feel clean air, to know we'd made it. His last words were to me. He grabbed my hand and said, you tell them we survived. I said I would, so here I am, telling you. His voice steadies. Campi Flegrei erupted 11 days ago. The death toll is estimated in the millions. Southern Italy is uninhabitable. The ash cloud has spread across Europe. The climate's changing. The world's changing, but we're still here. 9 of us made it out of Naples. 8 are still alive. We walked through sewers filled with toxic water. We climbed through ash-covered streets. We found a ship and an engineer who refused to give up. We sailed away from the apocalypse. And tomorrow we'll make landfall in Sardinia. We'll find other survivors. We'll rebuild. Or we'll try anyway. Because that's what humans do. We survive. We adapt. We keep talking even when nobody's listening. We make stupid jokes in sewers. We write poetry about the end of the world. We save each other even when it seems hopeless.